Hello and welcome to a look at Potty, Pigeon for the Commodore 64, a game that was released by Gremlin. Despite the way the game looks, it actually has a plot. Percy the pigeon has decided that it's time to build a nest, which I suppose is a very common need for birds to do. But Percy is not particularly clever, so instead of getting his twigs and branches and whatever else he might need for nest building from a woodland area, he has decided to get the twigs from a very busy road. And you can imagine that a busy road usually contains vehicles, and that is definitely the case in this particular game. Only having the vehicles as a potential obstacle, of course, would be far too easy, so thankfully there are other things in the air to challenge Percy and in his quest for building building a nest ring. And the earliest you will bump into is a sparrow that will try to nick or steal the twig out of Percy's talons, or whatever they're called, and if it touches Percy while he carries a twig, it will cause Percy to drop the twig, and he will have to relocate the twig somewhere else from the road. There will also be other things flying around, butterflies that you can fly into and get some points by eating or obliterating whatever else it is you're doing. But Percy has a mean of fighting back against the evildoers of this particular game in the form of what the manual describes as rotten explosive eggs. Now the thing is, and even Anthony Crowder himself in a chat was with a smirk implying a different story. No one in their right mind believes that Percy's dropping eggs. They believe that he's dropping a certain something else substance that birds like to drop, especially on car front windscreens. So, yeah, that's probably something to do with the fact that they couldn't possibly claim that a game of this type would involve you flying around with a bird dropping poop on cars and whatever else might get in the way. So, the official description, as I said, is eggs. Now, from a graphical point of view, you could argue that this looks incredibly basic, which it definitely does. But look at this. This kind of scroll is not bad for a game from 1984, in all honesty. I sort of don't want to delve into the whole argument that was back in the day, consoles against home computers, but far too many times I've seen comments about someone watching or looking at a game that's been poorly programmed and says, "Oh, the Commodore 64 can't scroll," or "The Amiga sucks," or whatever it is it might be. And I just want to put that part in so you can actually see that while the graphics are definitely on the basic side, they move incredibly smoothly, and Anthony Crowder even definitely had a certain technical skill when it came to the Commodore 64, and that became a thing for all of his games. The sound effects are appropriate for the title. Nothing really stands out. Nothing is overly annoying, thankfully. But the music is a tune that I categorize as I hope I don't get in trouble with YouTube, because it is a rendition of the TV series, of the theme from the TV series All Creatures Great and Small, which was the story of James Herriot, a veterinarian in the Dales district in England. And if you haven't watched that, I can highly recommend watching it. The original series, not the relatively new remake, and that is only because of the fact that Robert Hardy's portrayal of the character's secret cannot be bested by a mortal person. Anyway, the tune is easily recognizable and very enjoyable, and it doesn't intrude, doesn't stand out negatively, so it is a nice little touch having that running around in the background. Or not running around, just running, I think it's called. The controls are super smooth and super spot on. Left, right, up, down will do left, right, up, down things, and press the fire button to drop an egg. Remember, it's X. And then in order to pick up a trick, you just have to fly over it. Sometimes it can be a bit finicky about whether Perseus wants to pick up the trick or not, but the controls are definitely incredibly responsive, and it can be other agitation points that causes you to fly into things, and definitely not the controls not doing what you want them to. Anthony Crowder was known for making some interesting games with some interesting and bizarre gameplay mechanic things. And as far as I know, this was his first Commodore 64 release. And yeah, I think it's fair to say that the idea of flying around with a pigeon, picking up tricks from a road, and dropping X on cars in order to defend yourself against them while avoiding the sparrows and other things is a bit of an interesting gameplay thing. But what you don't see in this particular video, and for good reason, is the fact that even though the first level is relatively simple, just pick up to 10 twigs and put them in your nest. Once you start getting into the further levels, the difficulty scales up at a ludicrous level. That is the only way I will describe it. One commenter was saying that he had reached level 8 and didn't know whether there was any levels past that, but the increase in difficulty from level 1 to level 2 is quite steep, because suddenly you have planes flying around, because, I mean, it wouldn't be fun if you didn't have planes flying around blocking you off and being a hazard in the air. But then, of course, later on again, you will have balloons and all sorts of other things, cats jumping for you, and that kind of stuff. And while the main gameplay loop does not change, the challenge level definitely, if you could find this potentially interesting, would keep you on your toes for quite a while, I think. But it is far more likely that once the novelty of dropping X on cars has gone off, the simplicity of the gameplay overall is likely going to mean that the longevity of this particular title goes down the toilet. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.